I tell him to trot, can I turn my back on him and just have him continue doing his job? Probably not very long yet. You ever ride those horses that you have to go keep trotting, keep trotting, keep trotting, keep trotting, keep trotting?
My horse.
Keep trotting.
I rode one of those
and
in
it'll
a
solve the
dressage
problem.
test.
Completely problem solved. Done. Sideways game. Game number 6. That was a driving game. And this is really a driving game, but I'm just driving him sideways. And the squeeze game. Sending over, under, through, or in between a space. Serious? It's alright, you're half there. Okay, so I'm going to send him in this space. Remember I said he was claustrophobic?
Mm-hmm.
They don't like this. Look at how he's looking at that space like it's a trailer door.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't waste a whole lot of time hanging around in that place. Boy. But that's a game of do the task and then stop and wait for further instruction. Just like a dog, you tell the dog to sit, they sit and they go, okay, now what? Instead of sit and go, all right, see you later, I did it, so guess we're done here. I don't want him to go through that space and then take off. Like, have you ever been on a horse and like you go through a puddle, and you ask him to take 1 foot into the puddle and you end up about 100 yards past the puddle?
Yep.
Because you took 1 step and you took off? That's what this fix is. I want you to go where I want you to go, but I want you to go only as far as I've asked you to. Do this task. Stop. Wait for further instruction. So when I tell them to go to these objects, it's all using games. So this is a driving game. So there's 4 different levels of confidence. Confidence in the human when he first arrived. He was confident as long as you were doing something that seemed to him predictable and normal. If I had a clipper in my hand, now I'm dangerous. If I had an object in my hand he did not recognize, he was afraid of it. He was afraid of me, what I was planning to do. If he kind of had that look like, yeah, I knew this was coming. Whereas some horses do not question anything that you do. They'll tolerate like a 3-ring circus on their back. He's not. He's worried about my motivations. The next thing is confidence as a learner, which he didn't have. If I asked him to do something he didn't know how to do, he got the deer in the headlights look. He thought, oh my God, if I get this wrong, I'm surely going to die. Step 3, self-confidence, which is coming. Every time he up and just kicks that ball like Jackie Chan, he is getting some confidence. And you can tell that the confidence of the person is coming because every time he got scared by whatever noise is going on, he goes, did you hear that? He looks right at me. What do I do? Good boy. So he's not at all wondering anymore, Is he going to be in trouble if he does the wrong thing?
Oh, that thing. He looked at it and the look was, oh, I've seen that. He went, no, okay.
I've seen that. It's old news now. He used to hide. He wouldn't even look at it. I would show him a different object and he'd go, oh God, oh God, here it comes. Lying. He's pretending he's okay with it, but he's not. See how still he is?
Mm-hmm.
He's full of crap. There, yeah.
He's a little too stiff, too comfortable.
Too quiet. Now we're okay. And you can tell because he's not really looking at it. His eyes are calmer. His ears are starting to move around.
His other twitches are back in place.
Yep. Whenever you see just a little bit of movement, the horse is fine. There. And it's that freeze that caused the bucking. Because she said, well, it just happened for no reason. He was totally calm and then he freaked out.
He was totally like this.
That's crazy because it's never happened to anyone else ever. Totally abnormal. And that's where a lot of people would have stopped and went, well, so much for the saddle pack. He looks great. He's doing fine with it, and then moved on, but he wasn't. He was staring off into outer space. He went to his happy place.
Now it just seems crazy to me that she showed him to me in full tack and on a lunge line. I'm like, and now we're starting from this. And he's like,
You can believe the horses that people are riding, like daily. And I'm like, oh God, you should get down. That horse is going to flip out. But there's a lot of people that think that just because they're not getting bucked off and run away with, that they don't have a problem. Oh boy. Just like a first date. Going in for putting on the saddle pad is like going in for the kiss. Like, if she's looking at you like, don't do it. There we go. First base. Solid. And I put the rope on the ground for a reason. Because if you have to handcuff her to get her to kiss you, it doesn't count.
Are you sure? No, just kidding.
Pretty sure. Boy. Every time.
The stress.
Every single time he realizes that, like, he didn't die, he goes, like, big gasp. So if we stopped there, in about 15 minutes you'd see the yawning starting to happen. Because that stresses him out. And after they do well with something, just get off of it. There's so many people that would have been, okay, now grab the saddle. Right? He's okay, ready for step 2. Just let him check out for a second. That's why I'm just walking around in a circle. That was really hard for him to do. Just walk around the circle. Take the time it takes less time.
Feels like when we coach gymnastics and we have a really hard skill we're trying to teach, and we have a progression for it that's like a third of the skill. And a gymnast will be like, oh, I did the progression once. Now I should do the real skill, right?
Yeah.
No. You should do the progression 1,000 times.
Yep.
Then you can do the next progression.
You guys teach gymnastics?
Yep.
So, I was at a high school career day, and somebody asked me to do horse training. I'm like, okay. Every parent in the room was like, don't go talk to her. Go talk to the doctor.
It's not a real job.
But anyway, there was kind of like this little break area. I was over there getting a donut or something, and this guy asked me what I was there for. I was at horse training. He's like, is that really hard to do? And I said, yes and no. And I said it's hard because, oh, there we go. Yawns.
And he could open his mouth, right?
Oh, that was a big one.
Yeah, he has his dental check today, right?
Mm-hmm.
At what time?
2.
We're going to see how bad.
So,
Oh, I thought they were done
I'm
already.
explaining how it's difficult because you have to use a lot of psychology. And he goes, well, I teach gymnastics. And I was like, oh, so I bet you have to, use a little bit. And he's like, not really. You just tell them what to do. And, it's a physical thing. You have to tell them where to put their hands and their feet, and so on. And so he goes, well, why can't you do that with a horse? I said, we don't speak the same language. I'm like, you can't talk to a horse. And he didn't get it. And I said, okay, imagine trying to teach a gymnastics kid that has never seen gymnastics, does not know what gymnastics is, does not know who you are or what they're doing there, and you can't talk to them. You can just go, you're getting hotter, you're getting colder.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, exactly. Like now you live in my world. He's like, oh, that would suck.
That's a parent-toddler class, actually.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he's doing here. He doesn't know what I'm trying to do to him. He doesn't know who the hell I am or who the hell you are or what has happened to his life.
The 2- and 3-year-olds are just like that.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why would I want to sit like that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Last Sunday. Not this. Yeah, so I've had him for 2 weeks already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very stressed.
How old is he? 7. He was just broke out a year ago. And the trainer said, he's crazy, there's no hope for this horse, like, he'll never be a good horse, like, he's
Where'd you get him? You're from St. Cloud, right?
Yeah, from St. Cloud. I actually saw him on Craigslist, and the lady, I went in, like, I just called and I set up an appointment or whatever, and she's like, well, he has kind of a bucking problem, and I was like, oh, well, I already got the appointment, I'll take a look at him anyway, and my trainer was like, oh, I know of that horse, you don't want that horse, he is crazy, like, he'll never be anything.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, well,
You
I'll
took
look
him
at him
anyway?
anyway.
You're
Yeah.
pretty nuts.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy. And so,
Doesn't he look wild?
I went and looked at him, and he was like, just looked very confused, I guess, when I saw him. Like, he didn't really have any idea what he was doing. And she was gonna send him to slaughter. So I was like, on a whim, I was like, all right, I know you're gonna take him to the auction, possibly sell him to slaughter. I was like, will you take $300 for him? She was like, okay. I have a horse. And I'd been looking for almost like 8 months,
Okay.
and I wasn't planning on
Here
it,
comes
but
the Frankenstein feet.
Wow.
but
Look
yeah.
at he's like tipping over.
So I found Jennifer online, and
Okay.
I just really liked everything I read. And
Why is he doing that?
all right, let's try.
He's coming off of adrenaline.
Oh,
When horses come off of adrenaline, they start yawning repeatedly, and then they get what I call Frankenstein feet. Because as their adrenaline leaves their system, the only thing left in their brain is the endorphins.
So they're
Endorphins
just
is like, so
drunk?
So when you, like somebody holds you at gunpoint, or you're in a really bad car accident or something, or you're injured, and your adrenaline makes you get up to where like you can move, you can run, and endorphins mask pain. So like women that have given birth, they have adrenaline going through their system and they have endorphins going through their system. Once the pain is gone, all that's left is this endorphin state, you know. So that's why you see him like, I love training, dude. He's like,
It's the runner high from the end of the race.
Yes.
I know that feeling too well.
Did you,
Yes, that's
did you ever
exactly
have
what
this
it
before?
Mm-hmm. I did when I was in high school, and
The finish line at my cross country races in high school and college.
Yep. Everybody's like, I
200.
love running.
It's 200 guys walking around like this.
we had
Yep.
Like, good race, man, good race. And we're all like, I just threw up, good race.
Yeah.
I can't move.
graduated, and
That's
I was
exactly
like,
what it
I
is.
really want to get back into horses. So I started taking lessons again.
But it
English.
just kind of shows you how stressed he really is.
Yeah.
That's what I said. That's why I said he's a really good liar. Because he tries to push himself through things when he probably
Gotta
shouldn't.
have him. I
When
gotta
he's
try.
actually a little afraid.
Something
He'll
about
try
it.
really
Like,
hard to pretend he's not afraid.
yeah.
Like when runners try really hard to pretend they don't want to stop running.
All the way back over. And
No, it's
going
like
from there. So
So you knew that you loved him, but you knew.
yeah. I
horses
knew it was gonna need a lot of work. So.
are generally taught that if they don't do what we want them to do, that they're going to get in trouble, or they're going to get beaten up, or there's some kind of threat behind it. A lot of things that they get in trouble for are things that they do reacting out of fear. So if a beast stings a horse and they jump, leap, bolt, bite, kick, whatever, somebody's going to start smacking on them for it, even though it was a horse's pain response. It was a fear response. So what starts to happen is horses learn coping mechanisms. They learn to pretend that they're fine when they're not. Just like a kid that gets beaten up at home is never, ever, ever going to talk. They lie. They lie through the whole thing. Oh my God.
Yeah, so with him, I figured, well, I could spend $300 on this guy and put all my money into training, or I could spend $2,000 on a horse that
Is trained for stuff we're not doing.
is trained but still needs more training to fit me.
Sure.
I was like, well, I don't know. First time I saw him, I just like fell in love with him. I was like, oh.
And he was at a trainer, so you don't know who owned him? Or?
No, I did know.
Okay.
I did. She had him boarded at actually the place that I was taking lessons at, and she did have 30 days done with the trainer that I work with, who's very different style.
Okay.
Night and day.
Yeah. But she was just like, no, you don't want him. Like, he's crazy. Like, you don't want him. Like,
Wow.
I was like, oh, I just fell in love with him. I couldn't let him go. I had to try. And I was like, you know what, even if he doesn't work out for me, like if he's not the horse for me, at least I can give him a second chance and some other girl is going to fall in love with him. He's going to be a perfect barrel horse, a perfect gaming horse for her, something like that.
Yeah.
Now he's bored.
So that's my story.
So you knew
He's not
they
like
had
trying to
done
do
it?
anything.
Huh?
Why had they
Where
had
did the party
do you
at?
know anything about like why he
Not really.
How you started, or
No, don't really.
This is the part of a gymnastics progression where the gymnast can hold a conversation while executing the skill perfectly. Well, might be time for something new.
Yeah, he's supported.
And she was like, we were just trail riding, and then all of a sudden you just freaked out and bucked me off. So,
interesting story.
for no reason. For absolutely no reason, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
It couldn't have been his teeth or an ulcer.
Because horses just randomly buck for no reason all the time.
And speaking of all the time, if he bucks twice in 1 year,
And they
he must be crazy, right?
Yeah, and they never did a vet check on him or anything to figure out if, like, he had, like, a physical problem, like if he was sore or something like that, or, which I thought was very strange. I was like, oh, okay. So.
I think you would try to figure out why.
Well, yeah, and that's what
What's
just stumped me,
realistic?
is I was like, no one's trying to figure out why he does this. And I'm a psychology major, and so is Dan, and we're like,
Oh.
this is just, like, we can learn a ton watching this, and
Our favorite class in college was Principles of Learning and Behavior. So we watched
Principles of what?
Principles of Learning and Behavior.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
And it was taught by a guy with 2 PhDs who was the most, like, type A personality you'll ever meet. Probably one of the smartest men I'll ever
Oh, yeah.
have met ever.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
holy cow, that was an amazing professor. But so we look at horses and we're like, this is like a Rubik's Cube. Like,
Yeah,
Why does he do
exactly.
that? I want to know more. Like,
Yeah.
I want to figure out why he does this. There can't just be.
Hey, Becky, would you do me a favor?
Yes.
There is a girth extension in the tack room behind the door. It looks just like this, except it's just this part.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's behind the door in with all of the... There's a rack next to behind the door and on the actual door itself.
Okay.
And it's the one next to the door.
Okay.
Bottom row. You have weight problem.
I said to Becky earlier, now that he's all shiny, I can see he's a little tubby. I actually kind of like figuring out horses more than I like figuring out gymnasts, because gymnasts are, like you said, they speak our language, and you can learn about them and instruct them with your words, not just with contact or, introducing new stimuli.
I need to go get my sweatshirt.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll keep taping. There's a lot going on. No, but there's a lot going on right now.
Can't miss this.
Have you been on them yet, Jennifer?
Nope. This is the first time I've been saddled in.
Oh.
Stick with me, buddy.
So how far, is that kind of one of the things you've picked up on his issues? Did he have a problem just even with saddling?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
This horse had never been saddled properly.
Okay. So he was worried from the get-go.
Yep. Oh, I know you got bugs on you. I'm totally aware. I'm working on it. Okay. Oh. Hang on.
Thinking the same thing.
Ooh, chilly. And then I went outside and it's like super sunny and hot out, and I'm like, wow.
I know. It's cool.
All right.
Becky, our gym is exactly this size with this type of wall and everything. Makes me think there should be a horse barn on the other side.
He looks like a fat warm blood. He is so adorable.
Alright, I'm getting used to the mane now.
It looks different with the saddle on, doesn't it?
Yeah. It just looks so different than when it was like super long.
Yeah.
Like I saw him on Wednesday and I was like, Whoa.
Yeah. He's gonna look awfully cute in his little hunter braids. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are seeing this or not, but it's like his brain's stuck in gum. Before I'd pick up a stick and he'd be like, "Yep, okay, got it," and now he's what's a turn? And he's distracted by the saddle.
How do I go the other way?
Huh?
How do I go the other way? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. What's a stick? What? If I keep it really slow, he does okay, but look at that. He's like, okay. Look, there's nothing. It's kind of like his CPU is down to 10% right now. There we go. That's a little better. But I'm finding that I have to be a lot more clear about when I'm trying to do. My signals are having to be a little bit bigger.
So is that also because the last time you said that he kind of like checks out when he's lunging? Is he still kind of doing that, or
Nope,
he's just
he's not
distracted?
doing that at all anymore.
Okay.
Nope. He used to check out when he was lunging because he would look away from me. It's like he couldn't look at me while he was lunging. Good boy. Now we're getting the brains working. Okay. Pretty good for a hamburger bound. Did I tell you we used to have a thoroughbred mare? We knew pretty good for garbage.
Yes, I think you did.